The engine of synthesis is the same as the engine of analysis. There's a lot of talk about division these days. We are so divided. Well, what do we mean by divide? There's a mathematical concept of division, which we learn in elementary school. I suppose that in the current context, I don't know what is the most simple way to imagine division in the way that it's understood or used these days as political division. That you have a pile of stuff and you separate out. You literally have a pile of stuff and you move half the pile to that side and move the other half the pile to that side. That's division. Call that the blue pile and call that the red pile. So it's meant in terms of separation. Separation and identity. Difference and identity. And dyadic thinking binary thinking, bivalent thinking, yin-yang thinking, plus minus, give and take, quid pro quo. We have obverse, converse. It turns out to be, one way or another, intimately related to much of experience and language and logic. Division. To speak personally for a second, I think I've gone in phases about the notion of, let's say, just simplistic binary division. The binary distinction, 1-0, I guess, is most familiar these days. Everybody knows 1-0. The binary distinction. When I first discovered it, I thought it was profound. Then I realized it was cliche. Now, over the past 5-10 years especially, I just find myself smack dab at it again, one way or another. Things get divided. Things get divided into these pairs. The pairing of things, the doubling of things. And we can also see from this view, if the New Age people want to go yin yang and cosmic unity, make everything a cliche, it's very easy to also go off on very I don't know if spurious would be the word, but useless and worthless tangents and digressions regarding positive and negative and yin yang and so on, because it comes with such tremendous baggage. I mean, it's a big problem for Hegel, and it's a problem for Marx, and especially Marx and everything that comes after Marx is just completely overladen with this kind of like dialectical metaphysics, which is quite misled. You can't do dialectical metaphysics with no degree of specificity. I don't even know if you can do it at all. Dialectical metaphysics. Because the predicate is going to be how specific do you want to, how specific can you make the predicate? The problem of how deeply gerrymandered your predicate is going to become, immediately it becomes a problem for Cantorian set theory. Uncountability and infinities and infinities. The infinitesimal or the Planck limit. The Planck limit. I mean, we're not so far in the universal scheme of things we're closer to the Planck limit than we are to, the big magnitudes of, I don't know, quasars and star systems and shit. Or are we? I don't know. What do I know? Certainly barely could get my butt into a physics classroom, let alone mathematical astronomy. So there's plenty of ways, especially because Marx tends to mislead us every goddamn step of the way. I mean, Marx very mistakes and mistakes and mistakes. You don't even know where to begin with mistakes. So, and then Leninism, Stalinism, they turned dialectical logic into an absolute jackass perversion. I mean, it's worth reading some of that stuff. I mean, they're doing logic? That's logic? Marxian dialectical logic. The discourse is like horse shit across the board. There's stories of that Stalin supposedly had a tutor. I mean, Professor Kotkin knows the story, but you know, they're trying to teach him Hegel and stuff, and he's banging his head against the wall. He's getting frustrated. Yeah, if you're gonna bang your head against the wall trying to figure out Hegel, it's best to just push Hegel aside because it's a quagmire. It's a quagmire of tedium. And of course, two dogmas of empiricism, where Quine blurs the analytic synthetic distinction quite impressively. Quine's paper is taken as gospel truth. No different than the Schrodinger equation. Quine's paper. How many Americans know it? There's 50 professors of analytic philosophy that know that essay pretty well. 50 in the United States, I bet. That's all. That is the entirety of the United States population that has even heard, probably, of Willard von Orman Quine. The analytic synthetic distinction and its blurring in two dogmas of empiricism should be something that's taught roughly, I would reckon, in 3rd or 4th grade to every student, along with Gottlob Frege. Of course, you need the instructors that can do it. They're out there. Just get the philosophers to do it. The philosophers, we need to do split our time. We'll split our time between the philosophy department and teaching elementary school. That's what philosophers do now. The ones who are allowed to, of course. Which does not include myself. Because I was never able to make it in U.S. academia. So, do we have a problem about woke elitism? It's looking pretty bad these days. Because not only does a brain like this fall through the cracks, but apparently there is no one person in academia who's willing to defend the principles that they expound in any meaningful, real way, as a matter of life and death. Division is here to stay. The energy of division is used both for analysis and for synthesis. And this is really the upshot of Quine's paper. It's almost perspectival. In fact, it is just perspectival. An analytical thinker is just a synthetic thinker from a different perspective. We are so divided, and yet. What is the synthetic perspective on that description? I'll leave it to you. Use your imagination. We have profound cultural materials in the United States, which now must be operationalized. Cultural materials, cultural intelligence. Do Americans respect craft, skill, techne? Yes. The backbone of techne, the lineages of skills that make the backbone of the country? Yes. Do atheists believe in God? Yes. Are Christians nihilists? Yes. Are we all entertained by Hollywood? Division. I don't know. I'm not very impressed by division personally. I mean, it's just there. And division is massively perspectival. Read Quine's essay. I mean, it's not easy. It's really short. But that's top level philosophy. I mean, it doesn't get any better than Quine's paper. And where was he? He was in the Midwest, right? Why don't it starts with an O? Oberlin College. How many schools, how many institutions are in the United States? Private colleges, state colleges. Our university system is incredible. I mean, I said it's fucking broken. Yeah, okay. It's fucking broken because I have umbrage myself. Okay. Yeah. Because, yeah. But no, I mean, our education system is the envy of the world. Our humanities. Look, I know how many philosophers we have. And philosophers and writers and poets and theorists. We have many, many sophisticated moral thinkers who go under the index of amoral atheism for various technical and or sociological reasons. Not for moral reasons. That's a big mistake. I think that, if you want to attack an atheist, you have to attack their metaphysics or their logic. You can't attack their morality. Because I would imagine 99% of atheists are quite morally concerned people. I mean, it's one of the main reasons I mean, one of the big, most general outlines of how one gets driven to atheism is out of some or other moral qualms. With theism, you have moral qualms with the culture of theism, patriarchy, colonialism, vertical coercive force. That's all associated with theism. So you think, well, fuck that, I'll be an atheist. For moral reasons. So, as Americans, what is the cultural landscape in 2026 and the 29th of January? The cultural landscape is every American loves their individual voice. I love to hear myself speak about all the shit that I'm into, right? And I love my identity, and I love my own destiny as an individual. I love my own story, my own narrative. I'm different than you, you're different than me, we're all different from each other. That's not the way a communist society looks. Communism, if you've ever studied it, or if you will study it, or if you are studying it now, anybody studying communism knows difference is the enemy, and difference goes quite deep. It's not only conspicuous difference, or rather, it's not merely ideological difference. It can be conspicuous intra-ideological difference. I mean, you can have a problem. In fact, the biggest problems within, and this goes for any authoritarian regime that has a problem with difference, mind you, anyone who has a problem with difference eventually is going to self-persecute. I mean, yeah, it's self-persecutory, but that's almost beside the point. I mean, it's a persecutorial approach to be wary of difference. But there's a very particular logical mistake that gets made with reductions to identity. If you have to be like me because I'm a woke libtard and that's better, or like let's say I'm a Christian nationalist and you have to be like me, right? So then what is my thought process like all day? I'm a Christian nationalist, I'm a woke libtard, I'm a woke libtard. I'm a Christian nationalist, woke libtard, and fuck you. Stay away from me. Difference, identity, right? But time still unfolds and contingent events still happen. There is still difference. There is constant difference. And in fact, in order to maintain your own identity, you have to become different from, because there's particularity, there's universality, and there's specificity. There's singularity, particularity, and universality. In any dyadic relationship, whether between two terms or two people, you have an identity function and a difference function. Sometimes they look the same, sometimes they look different. Sometimes they happen at once, sometimes they happen in series, etc., etc. You have an identity function and a difference function. If you get too carried away with difference, you lose your identity. If you get too carried away with identity, you lose the world. You lose the capacity to have anything like an experience, because it's just you. A equals A equals A. So Quine gives us that the analytic-synthetic distinction, in fact, are blurred. So without getting into a close read, because it's blasphemy for me to get to bring specifics from the essay and not have the text here, because it's very hard work, essay. But there is a point. The upshot of the paper is a kind of pragmatism, and Quine is bringing in a kind of weak coherentist view. And there's the famous way of talking about making adjustments elsewhere in the system. If you want, if some particular analytic truth can be held into question held in question analytic truth by way of its empirical element, then that means you're paying the price somewhere else in the system. You're making an adjustment somewhere else in the system. If you accommodate the system here, you pay the price there. So ultimately here, I'm really just trying to get at the ethos of division, the ethos of division. I mean, it's a hopelessly general subject. But it becomes of quite serious import these days, because it's very easy for Americans to get confused and think that the division means some kind of a stark moral division or something. And don't lose sight of the perspective that division is also synthesis from a different perspective.